No man in the world. No man in the world.
The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls.
Recording in progress.
No man in the world. No man in the world.
The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls.
We create.
The smart, powerful, creative, accomplished young women.
We can fight.
I'm here because of you.
Buckle up, buttercups. It's another episode of Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. My name is Liz. I'm one of your hosts. My co-hosts are joining me from various parts of the earth today on Zoom. We have Donna. How are you, Donna?
I would say I'm well. However, there would be a small, it wouldn't be entirely true.
It would be a slight exaggeration, yes.
Yes. So I am joining you all from my bed, number 3, in the back hallway of Tampa General, where, as a consequence of my recent adventures and side quests to obtain optimal health, I've landed myself once again in the La Hospital. Now, I am in better health than most of my peers, with the exception of a few extra pounds that I'm working on, and low potassium from my indulgences into Finnish sauna culture got me here. However, there are worse things to be in the hospital for, let me tell you, especially with my family history, right? But I want to talk a little bit today, Liz, about the healthcare system and how it's imploding.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Maria, are you with us?
I'm waiting for this conversation. Donna, I'm sorry to hear that you're in the hospital. Certainly under these circumstances.
I was shocked as you.
But doesn't she look good, though, Maria?
Always. I mean, Swedish sauna is a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, really.
No, Finnish is the real one. Like, the Swedes like to claim it, but it's originated. And lelu, when you pour the water onto the rocks and you get the steam, that's a distinctly Finnish thing. It is the core of sauna culture. But the Finns never talk, so we don't know about them. Swedes are always talking.
All right. So if you want to join the conversation today, you can give us a call at 813-239-9663, or you can email to dj@wmnf.org. So, Donna, start us off on the conversation about the state of the imploding healthcare system in the United States, please.
Okay, so we've never really recovered from COVID, right? Did a little research this morning. I do have some history working in healthcare field before I went into politics. As Maria is an actual doctor, that's your Maria that you listen to every Thursday. And Liz, who leads us every Thursday, is both a lawyer and an RN. Now, so I think I'm getting most of my healthcare information now from being in the system. Changed from when I was younger. But the big picture in human terms is that we're losing stacked beds. We're paying more than anyone in the world for care. And we're burning through healthcare workers faster than we can replace them.
Right.
So I'm going to break it down for you into 3 buckets. I'm going to try to keep it tight and real with you, okay? So there are fewer staffed beds and the patients are sicker. Now, when I was in D.C. a couple weeks ago, I talked about this last week, the head of the nurses union for the United States, who lives in Minnesota, said that you're going to hear more and more people being found down because they are foregoing care, they're getting inadequate care, or they are just not able to afford the copays, and they very much like to have care. So we went from about 802,000 staffed hospital beds in 2009 to 674,000 beds in 2024. I'm sure that biggest dip that you probably would have seen from 2019 until now. The beds per 1,000 people slipped from 2.6 to 2.4. But remember, people are going to the hospital more frequently and they're sicker when they do get there. So that's important. That doesn't seem like a big slide but that's been since 2010. Admissions have stayed higher than pre-COVID. And projections say hospitalizations will rise from 36 million to 40 million over the next 10 years. So 2025, 36 million, 4 million additional by 2035. So it's like shrinking the size of an airplane while the passengers are flying it. Okay? Rural hospitals. We heard a lot about that. You saw me confront Josh Hawley in the Senate halls last week. Maybe I didn't put that on the Facebook page, but over 700 rural hospitals are at risk of closing. Lisa Murkowski, the senator from Alaska, and Josh Hawley, the senator from Missouri, went behind our backs. Lisa Murkowski is a Democrat. Josh Hawley's Republican, so this is across the board. They made special deals with the Trump administration to continue to have their hospitals funded, which is supposed to be illegal. To make a side deal so that
welcome to the Trump regime.
Here we be. Okay, so there are 300 hospitals are at immediate risk that would push healthcare even further to the brink. And the rural patients are already traveling twice as far as urban patients to reach a hospital facility. So here's why. You want to know why? Low or delayed reimbursement, especially for Medicare and Medicaid and commercial insurers, is pushing the finances of these hospitals to the brink. Federal policies, like site-neutral payment rules, they cut revenue to rural hospitals by hundreds of millions of dollars. And high labor costs and supplies post-COVID. People are saying people are threatening to leave. They're not going to take it anymore. They're going Norma Jean on these folks, and they're having to pay out of pocket to pay real living wages to nurses.
Right.
Yeah, and so the cost of care, we pay the most, we get mixed value. Case in point, I pay $900 a month. That number is going to $1,350 in January. That's a monthly cost. If I want to get my CT scans at Tampa General Hospital, I pay a $2,000 copay. I have medications that cost me out of pocket. I met my deductible this year. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, really.
Okay. Yeah. So this one should be free today. All right. Okay. So we're spending in the U.S. We spend $4.9 trillion. Okay. That's the total U.S. health spending. That's $14,570 per person. That is 17% of our GDP. Now, the only reason that's happening is because the drug companies are out of pocket. They're out of control. They're doing whatever they want, and they are charging Americans sometimes 10, 20 times as much for the same medication as you can get the same medication for in Japan. In London, they're probably paying $150 for Ozempic, and we're paying over $1,000 for a pen.
Wow.
United States. So you can see, compared to other rich countries, we spend about double per person. And the spend is happening again because of the drug companies, the pharmaceutical industry, one of the largest in the world. Spending likely will jump again to around 5.3 trillion. That's crazy. With growth in healthcare spending is going to outpace the overall economy. So you can see why the Trump administration has settled on the healthcare question, right?
Right.
I think with the wrong ideas and the wrong aims, and they have put the input that they put into their computations is wrong. Force the pharmaceutical companies to pay.
And once again, we are the only nation in the world that's developed and a major nation that actually does not have universal health care for its citizens. So,
okay.
So yeah, it's like why can't we be like all the other big countries and have our own healthcare system? It's because of corporate big pharma. It's the all the lobbies that are in Congress's ear, giving all kinds of let's keep this this universal health care stuff behind closed doors. We don't want that. We don't want that. Free market. Yeah. Well, you know what? Healthcare is the most expensive luxury item because that's what a lot of people consider it as, especially people on the right. They consider healthcare as a luxury and don't want everybody to have the same health care. And then they start, hollering about, in Canada, you have to wait 3 months to get this. Well, you know what? If you want to get a private policy as well, you can do that. But everybody starts at the same baseline.
I was a criminal because I had insurance that was paying for acupuncture, right? Well, people couldn't even get insulin. That's crazy.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you a story, too. My late husband had cancer for 3 years before he died. And on the last year, he lost his job because he couldn't work. And so our insurance was tied to his job. And so I was the only one working, and Cobra is so outrageously expensive. But it was like, oh my gosh, he needs treatment. I need health care. And so just going broke, basically paying for health care. And then my cousin says, you guys can get divorced and then he can get on Medicaid. And I'm like, that seems like a lot to go through. But I mean, you have to consider all your options at that point because the money wasn't going to last forever. So
right.
Let's talk to DeAndre real quick. Hey, DeAndre.
Hello, good morning. My condolences, by the way. That's a saddening story. Just my condolences, man.
Thank you so much, DeAndre.
You got it, man. But no. So this is my position. Like a lot of Americans, particularly marginalized groups, were the experiments that brought this medicine forward.
Right.
So there's that. But then Florida's like on the forefront of how do I say it? Like in 1990, the free pill law, well, that extends to people who experience malpractice and survive it, but still have to adjust to those the quality of life issues, right? But Florida is just like the place where they get over so much in so many ways and experiment with us in all these different institutions and such. But then they try to make it a national model. And I hope people realize that. Well, and it goes around, but I'm from here, so it's like an observation after like 43 years.
Right.
But I just wanted to put that out there. And the quality of healthcare is on the other side of that. That's where they can generate, some of the disruption too by giving doctors a hard time. So it's like a dogma when it comes to these different agencies we depend on, but it's been intentionally sabotaged for decades.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And you know what? And to your point, Andre, we're paying luxury level prices for a system that delivers economy class access.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much for calling, DeAndre.
Thank you.
It's not even economy class. It's sort of like those
True.
Spirit airline planes where you got to stand up.
Yeah, I've been in
yes.
Denver Health. I've been here in Tampa General twice, and I've been in the hallway each time. I have not seen the inside of a hospital room yet at the prices that I'm paying.
But there was a article recently. I think the patient was in St. Pete. Medicaid patient experienced malpractice, was a victim of malpractice, and had a jury award of $70 million. That's how bad it was. But the patient was on Medicaid. Now, we all know that a lot of times these institutions treat you according to your insurance as opposed to what is in the best interest of the patient. there is a law in the state of Florida that patient, because they were a Medicaid recipient, cannot receive a jury award more than $300,000.
Actually, that's not quite accurate. In medical malpractice, there is a statute that limits
the jury award.
No, non-economic damages. So like your pain and suffering and stuff like that. It puts a cap on those. If you've got $10 million worth of medical bills, then you'll get that money back.
I'm assuming that the majority, the bulk of this award, according to the article, was pain and suffering. It was not actual medical damages.
Right.
Medical damages were limited to $300,000.
So yeah, we got the queues stacked up now. So let's start weeding this out. Let's start with Howard in Clearwater. Hi, Howard.
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I did some number calculation. I used to be involved in healthcare many years ago, back in the early 2000s, 2005. I did some calculations, just rough ones. And when you talk about how much money we spend on healthcare, it's not healthcare, it's health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
There's only about 50 to 55 cents on the dollar actually goes to healthcare provision. The other 45 cents is administration and marketing. Companies like United Healthcare, they're the ones that sell the insurance. Not a nickel out of their money goes towards healthcare. It's all administration and marketing. They
Right.
provide direct healthcare.
Right. I've been seeing, Howard, speaking of that, I have been seeing a commercial running by United Healthcare. They have a lady who had heart transplant. And I'm like, why does United Healthcare need to advertise?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's this whole deal with you got to get an annual Medicare plan? You got Medicare.
Right.
Why do you have to renew stuff every year? It's nuts.
Right.
All the money that goes into that effort and the administration of those contracts is complete waste.
Mm-hmm.
Not one penny.
Yeah, do you know what estimates say that we could save $250 billion a year just by streamlining the complexities of the system?
It's insane, but that's the for-profit motive. That's why, Congress is bought and paid for by these guys. Not just the drug companies, all the other crooks that are involved in this stuff. It's a twisted, crooked system. Now, for the people that don't have insurance, the numbers that don't get included in healthcare spending is all the money that states put out, like Department of Children and Families in Florida. They pay billions of dollars every year in healthcare funding that doesn't get reported as healthcare insurance because it ain't. It's
Right.
government money that gets paid for the uninsured. So when you take the numbers that you're being given, add another third to that because that's the real cost of what we're doing. And it still doesn't get any better because, like I think Maria was saying, you get treated based on the healthcare insurance you got.
All right. Thanks so much for calling, Howard.
Good to chat with you again. Have a lovely day.
You too. Bye-bye. Let's talk
Thank you.
to
That was excellent.
Jerry in Clearwater. Hi, Jerry.
Hi, how are you today? Thanks
Good.
for taking my call.
Sure.
I just wanted to mention a couple of things. One, they make a big deal about marginalized people not being married and whatnot, such as that. Well, a lot of that is the very reason that the lady that mentioned divorce was talking about, was if they get married, they lose their insurance. And for reasonable insurance, it runs about $400 or $500 per person on this so-called insurance plan. And the other fellow was right about the money on advertising. Of the G20 nations, we are the only one that does not provide health care for their people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you figure you're spending half of your budget on advertising, that explains a lot. If you've got a national health care system, or as Bernie would put it, a Medicare for all, you don't need to spend that 50 cents on the dollar trying to sell people stuff.
Right.
So right off the bat, you saved half. So, and then it goes on. I had a doctor deliberately blind me. I looked up the process. I looked up what he did. He did what I asked him not to do, and he deliberately blinded me. I had another doctor that in a cancer operation lost the cartilage in my ear. I approached several attorneys, including one that always talks about how good he is. And no one would take the case because Rick Scott put so many, let's just say, hoops in the way that, and there is a limited, since I'm still alive, amount they'll give me for pain and suffering being blind in one eye, even though it was deliberate. That by the time they jumped through the hoops, he told me all three firms, as a matter of fact, told me they spend between 20 to 50, depending on who you talk to, on preparing for the case because they need all these so-called experts. Mm-hmm. Well, if they win, they're limited because it's the pain and suffering is what they'd be getting me for since I'm still alive, and they're not going to make any money.
Right.
So they wouldn't take it. So I'm blind in my left eye because the doctor deliberately blinded me, is what he did, instead of vitreous fluid because it's faster and it's cheaper.
Oh, my gosh.
But it blinded me and it gave me glaucoma. But I couldn't find anybody to take that case. Meanwhile, since it gave me glaucoma, it destroyed the little valve in your eye that regulates your vitreous fluid.
Right.
So I had to have a false one put in, and not only once but twice because the first one was normal size and et cetera. But that doctor was able to replace it with vitreous fluid with no problem.
All right.
Laughed at the kind of job that guy did on my torn retina. In other words, he just patched it up, filled me full of silicone, shoved me out the door, and anyway, the list is endless.
Yeah. Well, thanks so. Yeah,
Medicare and Social Security tomorrow if they'd just be fair about it.
Right.
But certain things capitalism works well for. Certain things it does not.
It only works well from what I see for the billionaires, but okay.
Oh, yeah, it works very well for them.
Thanks so much for calling, Jerry.
They should take the ceiling off of how much, who pays into Medicare, who pays into Social Security, and then have a ceiling on who gets money out, but still everyone qualifies for the insurance part.
Right.
It's not the income.
I've got to let you go, Jerry, because we have other callers hanging on.
Another hour, honey.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we have Sierra in St. Petersburg. Hi, Sierra.
Hi, Shirley Voices. It's been a while since I've called in, but...
I know. I was trying to remember back to the last time, so...
I've been working so much to just make a living in this place so that I can afford my insurance.
Right.
Ironically, and my health care. And I just want to say thank you for your Shirley Voices. Thank you for this topic today. I have lived with long COVID for 5 years of my life. I've been in and out of the hospital. And so I feel you. My prayers are with you ladies today and through this process because it's so difficult and it's so hard. I'm facing probably over $50,000 medical debt, and I'm probably going to lose my health insurance because of our current administration. So all of that being said, I'm getting a third job and working so much that I haven't been able to call in. And I just want to say it's heartbreaking for me because I live with a permanent condition now called long COVID. And I'm staring at all these medical bills and all this medical debt and the fact that I may never be able to afford health insurance on my own. And it's just really sad to me that we live in this country and we fight so hard for these rights and these freedoms. We should have health care that is affordable to everyone. Universal health care should be a universal right to everyone. And so I just want to say I work really hard to help others as a massage therapist and to make the world a better place, one massage at a time. So I just want to send you guys some serious love from someone who has so much respect for what you do and this conversation. Thank you, and prayers to you down in the hospital, and I hope you get better.
Thank you so much for calling, Sierra. And one thing that you don't hear talked about is all these uninsured people aren't going for preventative care, and like mammograms or whatever, and then they wait until they get so sick that when they get to the emergency room, A, they can't pay for the care, and B, they're so sick that sometimes they're not able to be saved. So it's a horrible cycle and no end in sight. You're listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. You can join the conversation by giving us a call at 813-239-9663, or you can email to dj@wmnf.org. Maria, you want to?
Well, wait, hold on. I want to check out. I'm going to check out for about 15 minutes. 10 minutes.
Okay.
I'm going to have an echo, and then I'll come back.
All right.
Okay.
Good luck.
Bye.
Maria, any thoughts on the conversations thus far?
Well, I mean, I think that we're all saying the same thing, right? But who exactly is listening to us? Everybody keeps saying, "Where's the money going to come from?" Right?
Right.
We wasted more money on Doge than it would cost to give everybody health care.
Thank you. Yes.
Right? I mean, come on. The jig is up. Like, we are in an untenable situation, and I'm really, really tired of us saying that the systems are failing. Mm-hmm. But this is the one failing system that we want to keep propped up.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly. And then you have Kathy Castor voting to condemn socialism, and it's like, what? So I guess that signals to the powers that be that, oh no, we're gonna keep this train rolling. Let's see. Let's get some emails and texts. One says, Donna, sorry you're in the hospital. It's -5 degrees in Minnesota. Yikes. Let's see. Good morning. Thank you for today's show. I've been struggling with this subject for a while. Seems like I'm slowly losing faith in my fellow humans, but fortunately, Pledge Week really helped quell that feeling. I was in the phone room, by the way. Love you all. Love WMNF. Thank you again for all you do. Ted Elfers. Yay. Hi, Ted. And thank you so much for volunteering in the phone room. Let me see who else. Piper says, just letting y'all know there's a lot of background voices coming through the broadcast. Love the show, and thank you for covering the issues you cover. Thank you, Piper. Actually, Donna really is in the hospital, so the background noises are people talking behind her. So let's see. We have Jack in Dover. Hi, Jack.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Get well soon to Donna.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. My question this morning, because of the topic, is I heard somewhere that American law has a basis in British law in England, and that if you want to, you can choose to have your cases heard by a higher court in England. Is that true? Do you know if that's true or not?
I don't know anything about the law in England. I know that, yes, the U.S. law was based on English law, but I don't know how the other than watching on television the crime shows, I don't know how it works.
Okay, well then, in my regular way of doing things, I want to throw something out of the box out there, which would be, is there any possibility for the fan base of Winston Churchill lovers and what he did after World War II to save England by saying, that their healthcare system is the priority, the number one priority? And if our laws are based in British law, is there some legal aid or some attorney's physician, physician assistant that could possibly research and find a way for us to get an American law passed under British rule for what they did to save their country through their healthcare system.
I don't think that's the way to go about it. Well, let's keep in mind, too, thank you so much for calling, Jack. Let's keep in mind, too, the Trump regime just slashed the professional status away from nurses and several other allied healthcare professionals. So that tells you right there, you know, what they think of healthcare and healthcare workers. Maria read out a whole list last week of things that were losing. In other words, they reclassified these professions to where they're not professions anymore, and therefore the amount of financial aid you can get for the education is limited. Let's talk to Sherry in Riverview. Hi, Sherry.
Hi there. My name's Shari.
Shari. Okay.
It's okay. You know, I come from a different aspect here in terms of health and well-being. Instead of looking at the medical industry, I look at what I can do to better my own health and become educated that way. You have Dr. Harvey that does a great show. And, you know, for people that have long COVID, there are some alternative opportunities out there. There's new EE centers. There's an X39 patch. There's a lot of other opportunities. I have opted out of having health insurance, and number one, because I can't really afford it. Number two, I practice like a raw vegan lifestyle. It's not for everyone, but I feel like there's a piece of the conversation that might be missing in terms of taking responsibility for my own health. And that is meant in a positive way, because if I focus on sickness and what's wrong as opposed to the things I can do, I think there's another way. Mind over body is a real thing. So that's just food for thought, and I love helping people with that. And it's worked for me, and so I feel like there's hope out there for people, and the financial crunch is real out there, but there also are a lot of opportunities. So I'll just wait to hear your response off air. How about that?
Awesome. Thanks so much, Shari. Bye-bye. Maria, do you want to take the lead on this one? Because I have lots of thoughts, but I want to hear yours first. Maria.
So I think, I'm sorry. I thought my microphone was off. I think it's, you know, I don't know that everybody can afford to, and it's not about the vegan lifestyle. I think it's great and I think it's healthy, but I think that not everybody can afford to opt out. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
Like we have people who, through no fault of their own, have type 1 diabetes, right? We have people through no fault of their own have congenital heart disease or whatever. It's just not practical for a lot of people to opt out of the system that have chronic illnesses. We got people with asthma. We got people with sickle cell disease. It's not an option for a lot of people that can be mitigated by a quote unquote vegan and healthy lifestyle. It's just not. Right. You know, I think it's great for those of us who can, and I do think that a lot of us need to pay more attention to the idea of actually, you know, being healthy and focusing on our health. Right? It's not. There still needs to be a minimum requirement for healthcare.
Right.
Right. Like, you know, let everybody drive a Toyota, right? But at some point, you know, so you'd want that more than practical, everyday, you know, conscious transportation. Pay for it. That's fine.
Right.
But but this is not a situation where the marketplace can decide, what the value of insulin is, or what people are willing to pay for Ozempic or anything like that.
Right.
It's absurd.
Well, and that was I'm gonna like tag on to that, because when she was talking, I was like, yeah, great. You can afford a vegan lifestyle. You can afford these supplements and things like that. What about the people who can't? I mean, when you're poor, you don't have fresh vegetables all day long. You have starch and beans. I mean,
right. and they police the food that you eat.
Right. Yeah. God forbid you should be on Snap and try to buy crawfish with it. That,
It's a lot easier to hold the individuals responsible for purchasing the foods that are in these 7-Elevens, which are basically sugar and caffeine delivery depots, right? People are poisoning the food deliberately. We've got executives on records deliberately making foods more addictive and adding sugar unnecessarily to foods. And I think that if we want to start pointing fingers somewhere, we should start with what's available to people and what they've been educated to believe is an okay thing. As long as it's delicious, I can eat it. Our healthcare system is in response to the very bad food culture that we've created. And I can tell you that I was in the worst health of my life when I was a vegan, and the best health of my life when I was on keto eating blocks of cheese. So to each his own.
Yeah. All right, let's talk to Christina in St. Petersburg. Hi, Christina.
Good morning, Surly Voices. I missed the first 30 minutes of the show, but I'm on my lunch break here, or my morning break. I'm going to pick up with what I just heard. First of all, get well, Donna. We need you. All right. I just want to comment. Maria actually took the words right out of my mouth a moment ago regarding the caller who suggested, healthy living and how we should, be accountable for that. And I agree with healthy living. I buy all organic produce, try to buy organic meat and all of that. But what Maria said was right on the money. Not everybody can afford to do that. I can't even afford it. But I live right now on a low salary as a single mom in a very frugal fashion. And I don't take trips. I don't buy clothes. I just spend money on my daughter, and we eat organic, right? And I'm also going to mention the white elephant in the room as well. I'm all about functional medicine. A lot of people are, but we can't all afford it. I was seeing an exceptional functional medicine doctor in St. Petersburg 3 years ago, and then the doctor all of a sudden stopped taking insurance this year, right? So like you said, there has to be a minimum requirement. And no matter how healthy one is, even if they are eating vegan and it's organic and they've never smoked, they've never had a drink in their life, you can still get sick.
Right.
So, that's where I'm coming from. And on that note, given the topic of discussion being how the working and middle class is always the ones that are affected by this, the health insurance, the lack thereof, continual low wages that don't match the cost of living, and so on. I think the next protest that is organized, No Kings was wonderful. I was there, great turnout. But I think the next protest should really be targeted. They need to come up with some type of catchy phrase that is targeted with working middle class over billionaires. And I think that would bring a lot of us together and would help us in other areas. So I'm just going to exit the call on that note. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Christina. Bye-bye.
But that kind of thing has to be organized like a general strike.
Right.
It can't be just one day with posters.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be, my dad used to always say, you speak to the man in the language they can understand best. And GDP is their love language, right? Like, it hit them in the pocketbook.
Right.
Period.
I think that, but I know you guys are going to balk at this, but I'm going to say it. I think some of what's being hinted at, it's coming out the wrong way because the people that are doing it aren't very smart. I said earlier, we're spending 17% of our GDP on healthcare. A caller called in and clarified for us that a lot of that is not going to healthcare. Much of it is going to administrative costs. I might want to check in with Rick Scott on that. Yeah.
And advertising. I'm irate every time I see that ad from United Healthcare.
Yes. And if they really were to streamline the system, I think what they would find is that patients would get better care, that healthcare providers would get better pay, and that drug companies would have to fall in line because who else are they going to sell it to?
Right.
And if we refuse to buy it at those costs and we start brokering those costs, the government is doing a little bit of that now. And I'm going to say it, going back to these companies and saying, hey, people need this medication. You sold people this diet for years and years and years. Look at cigarettes, right? I bet you Shari's parents smoked, right? Because they believed that cigarettes were fine. You know, you just get that menthol flavor and a little soothing. People bought what they were sold. And Americans are trained like dogs to just go and accept what they're told. This is one of the reasons why we're in the situation we're in today. We don't have a lack of intellectual aptitude. We are conditioned. We are able to be conditioned. It is our biological condition to be easily shaped by the things around us. I saw a TED Talk the other day and a guy said, you are riding with your friend because your car's broken down and your friend listens to jazz and you like to listen to rock. On day 1, you're like, how am I going to make it? On day 2, you're just like listening. On day 3, you're humming along. On day 5, you're singing it in the shower. And so that's how humans work, Shari. So when you start talking about why can't people just do this? We're having a whole war in this country over people telling other people, just do this instead of that. After they've created a system for those people to live inside of, that doesn't really allow them to do this because of food deserts. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and make an assumption that Shari and people of her ilk do not live in food deserts.
Right.
See, this is the disconnect. So when we start having conversation, people are like, well, why can't you just assimilate? Why can't you just speak English? Why can't you just eat green leafy vegetables? Because you know what? It costs more. You can get 2 hamburgers for the cost of a bunch of kale. That's why.
Right.
So if you're not having those issues before we start, and listen, I am well able to afford, and I'm going to say that and say this too. I am well able to afford my health insurance. I'm able to go to acupuncture once a week. I'm able to go to yoga class. I have memberships at 2 different studios. I'm paying $900 a month for my health care that's going up. I am doing everything I can. I am exercising, strength training. I'm doing everything I can. I'm down. I've lost weight. There are lots of people out here who see the writing on the walls that these folks who sold you this cakes and cookies are not going to be able to save you. And a lot of us that can and that have the bandwidth and the economic reach are doing just that. But just saying, hey, become vegans, it's not cool.
All right. Let's see. Jim in Sun City Center. Hi, Jim.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the thing that plagues me is a country as wealthy as ours, that we don't have universal health care. It drives me nuts.
Yes.
Now, Congress and other federal employees have a pretty good, almost soup to nuts health care program. And they pay 25% of the premiums, out of their own pocket or out of our pocket.
Yeah.
I just don't see, the only way that I see to do this, to get universal, is to shame these people, is to publicly shame them in town halls, letters. Here in Florida, forget it. It's useless to write to our congressmen or senators for obvious reasons. But if we just kept shaming them to give us what they have, why shouldn't we?
Well,
they work for us. It just doesn't. It seems so discordant or just hypocritical.
Right. Thanks so much for calling, Jim. You see the frustration out there with Luigi, who allegedly shot a healthcare executive. He's got so much, overwhelming support. Anything you read about Luigi, it's got lots of stuff in the comments about, he didn't do it, he was with me, stuff like that. So the frustration is there, and it should be easy to tap into. Scott in St. Petersburg. Hi, Scott.
Yes. Hey.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Just real quick. I don't need to take up too much time, but if I could just say that all degenerative disease can be avoided by 100% raw vegan lifestyle, and that's raw vegan lifestyle is completely different than vegan lifestyle. Vegan lifestyle, you can still carry all kinds of diseases, and but 100% raw vegan, you have no health issues. You never have to go to the doctor.
All right. Thanks so much for calling, Scott.
No worries.
Bye.
Just got to make sure that nobody ends up eating a cucumber with glyphosate. What is it? Roundup on it?
Roundup, yeah.
Because remember, there's a whole battery of lawsuits with people who developed lymphoma because they came in touch with Roundup. And then there's all these people, Rocky Flats, Colorado. These people are just missing the mark entirely. It's like that meme that where it goes right over your head. Rocky Flats in Montbello, Colorado, where they built on top of and adjacent to a toxic waste site. There are plenty of, we talk about environmental racism, where indigenous and all sorts of people of color and poor people that are not people of color all over this country are having toxic waste run through their water and dumped in their backyards. And so, but if we just eat the vegetables that are grown by Monsanto, we're going to be fine. And we really got to put some, I get that a diet that is rich in nutrients that are brought to us by leafy green vegetables and fruits is a magnificent thing. But we must have the conversation about food deserts. We must have a conversation about access, education, and we must have a conversation about toxic waste and deliberate contamination of foods and additives and preservatives that are put in food deliberately to make them more addictive and harmful. Why are we not having, why do people who say go vegan not talk about that?
Right. And not think the next step about, okay, if it's so great, why isn't everybody doing it? Well, a lot of people, number one, can't afford it. And number two, don't have easy access to it.
And these people clearly are not biological anthropologists, because a biological anthropologist would tell you that we are omnivores and we do not have a history of being raw.
Okay, let me get back to the emails and things. Let's see. Please tell us more about Kathy Castor voting against socialism. This hasn't popped up on my radar yet. Well, it wasn't only Kathy Castor. It was a bunch of Democrats. This was, I got this from Newsweek, the full list of Democrats voting to condemn socialism as Mamdani comes to town. If you remember, he went and visited Trump, and Trump was like fangirling all over him the whole time, it seemed like. But before that happened, yes, bunch of Democrats. Let me see how many's on here. 86 Democrats opposing socialism are voting to condemn socialism. And number 10 on Newsweek's list is Kathy Castor. And I'm like, why is Kathy Castor signing on to this piece of poop?
Because redistricting is on its way. It's headed straight for some of these Democrat districts in Florida. And I think these people are trying to make sure they're on the right side. Now, you saw what happened with Trump pardoning the Democrat in Texas, right?
Yes.
And so there is some concern that he may become a Republican. I think that agreement was already made, although he is saying now that he won't. But he's almost guaranteed to be reelected. So because he's gotten the indictments and stuff off of him, right? The convictions got it off of him. So he's a clean, air quote, clean person now. But I think that when you see these people making moves like that, they don't have to make them. They are blowing the dog whistle.
Right. So, and oh yes, also the illustrious Hakeem Jeffries, who is about as useless as Chuck Schumer. It would be hard to say which of the two is the most useless.
Be careful, Liz, you're going to conjure Mary.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. We're getting toward the end, so really we only have time for one more call, and that'll be Stephen in St. Petersburg. Mary will have to come back next week. Stephen.
If you look up the word socialism in the dictionary, it just means that a state or a country people collectively pay into so everybody can benefit, like your public parks, your libraries, your police force, your fire department, plow pick, when they plow the streets, when it snows, things like this, and people don't even know what the word means. But the comment I wanted to make on universal health care, there have been many presidents that have been for it, but ever since the Reagan Revolution, it's not going to change. We're not going to get universal health care in the country, and both parties are vehemently against universal health care. Bernie Sanders was one that cried in the wilderness, and nobody listened to him, and that's just the situation. We need universal health care. That's the only thing that's going to solve the death in this country, which, by the way, 9,000 people a day die in the U.S. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know the exact number, but thanks for filling in that blank, Stephen.
But anyway, the last thing I was going to say about universal health care is there's no politician from either party that I know of that is talking about it, that's pushing it for a vote.
And that might be something for the Democrats to consider, putting out as a platform instead of being little, milk toast mice, tipping around and trying to play to the center.
If it was put on the ballot in a national election, 88% of Democrats want it, 68, almost 70% of Republicans want it. The country wants it. They want eye care. They want universal dental care. They want medical care. And we have it. The country can afford it. It would actually save the country money, but the insurance rackets are against it.
Yep.
They make billions of dollars. But anyway, I just wanted to share that today.
All right. Thanks so much, Stephen.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right.
Well, I need to say that the issue, your topic about the Democrats voting for socialism was like the chief topic that we were going to hit today.
I know.
I learned it myself here. That was Liz's show.
Yeah, topic. I thought you weren't going to be here because I knew where you were. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about that while we still have a few minutes. What is the point? What is the point for all these people other than, pandering to the center? When are they going to get the notion that their audience is not in the center because the center is now so far right of Reagan Republicans, it's not even funny. So it's like, why don't you start catering to the left? Get us back to some semblance of having two parties. It frustrates me. What do you think, Donna or Maria?
Was it me? Maria was talking.
You're breaking up, Maria.
No, the people that are going to do it for you. You got to actually find candidates to support.
Right. So, yeah, and it's like when you have people like, right, for example, Mamdani got elected as the mayor of New York City, and he and AOC, who are both New York Democratic Socialists, were vetting this dude to run against Hakeem Jeffries, and they're like, it's not the right time. And that sounds just like came out of the Democratic playbook. But anyway, Frank gave us the finger. So if you're going to talk quickly.
No, I just think that I would like to see us sort of talking with people across the aisle. But I think right now, people on the other side of the aisle are doing too many death-dealing stunts to be taken seriously. So we're just going to have to ride with the socialists and the Democrats.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.
For now.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us on Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. Please listen to us again next week.